I think I'm recording now. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
record. Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm here with Allison Mahoney. So she was my bride last week. She's been booked with me for like 6 months, I think, or 5 months. And because of like all the COVID-19 craziness going on, she had to totally like redo her wedding in less than 24 hours. And I know a lot of you are like in that same boat. You're kind of panicking, not really sure where to go. And I felt like who better to talk to you about what all of that looks like last minute changes, like how to deal with it mentally, emotionally, like how to prioritize and whatever. So this is Allison. And I am going to ask her a bunch of questions, some that I came up with, some that I got from Instagram. And yeah. So can you just kind of talk through like your initial planned wedding that you had, what you thought everything was going to look like, and then talk a little bit about what it actually ended up being?
Yes. So we initially planned an event with over 200 people, and it was supposed to be on Saturday, so almost a week ago, March 21st. And we would have had all of our friends, family, grandparents, coworkers, everyone there to celebrate the day. We kind of planned your typical wedding, like a ceremony, a first look before the bridal party gets on the trolley. We had a cocktail hour with musicians and a big reception at the View in Mount Adams, and then followed by a send-off and potentially an after party. So we had thought through every single second of the day, as I'm sure you have as well. And instead, what we ended up doing was a very small ceremony on Thursday night, the 19th. So 2 days before the planned event. And the reason we pulled it up was because there were so many rumors circling about a potential quarantine. So we were just kind of worried that things would get shut down, and we just wanted to get married, and we're realizing that was the most important thing. So we pulled it up to Thursday, and we had our immediate family there. We called our bridal party, told them basically like they just couldn't come and we didn't feel responsible having a big group there. And we ended up having our ceremony. We were lucky enough to still have the church available with just 15 people. And then we went back to my in-laws' house afterwards for a little celebration reception.
Little celebration reception. It was like so beautiful. Okay, so I had this written. I know that your wedding plans changed multiple times, from 200 guests to 50 to immediate family only to getting married on a Thursday instead of a Saturday. At what point did you like decide to make, because I know you were kind of like back and forth on things for a while.
Yeah.
When were you like, we have to move it?
It was hard. Last week was hard because every day we were getting new information, and while I was trying to not watch the news because it was making me emotional and stressful, we also couldn't avoid it because it was determining our plans. So I would say, gosh, the end of the prior week, we were thinking there was this like silly cold coming through that was, no big deal, and kind of laughing whenever anyone said anything about it affecting our day, because we didn't think that would be the case.
Yeah.
And every day we were getting new information. So I kind of felt like every day I was replanning and rethinking through what this could look like. So initially we cut down to 50 people when we got news that the governor was like recommending no more than 50 people at any sort of private event. And so we cut it down to bridal party and family only. And we'd kind of wrapped our heads around that, but that was actually the hardest call because it meant letting go of all of the plans that I had made and just visualizing something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think maybe 3 more days went by. And so we had already like replanned out this 50-person wedding, changed everything, reduced orders as much as we could. And then there was like new recommendations of even less people in private setting gatherings. And Tim and I actually separately came up with the realization at the same time that we needed to cancel. And that was on Wednesday. That was last Wednesday. Gosh, like afternoon. We both came home from appointments and like said the same thing at the same time. And it was an emotional week, but it was like the minute we made that decision and let go of all of our old plans, it was kind of a weight lifted off of our shoulders. Like we had finally just like let go of like wasted time, wasted money, all the things that I was visualizing that I was trying so hard to hold on to. Even with that 50-person group, I was like trying to create the same thing. It just wasn't working and it was overwhelming. And so the minute we just like, we're like, okay, that's not happening and we need to start fresh. That was like when it became okay.
Yeah.
So it was really like Wednesday afternoon that we made the decision, and we were like, we can do immediate family on Saturday and risk having like new information come out, or we can just get married tomorrow and tell our immediate family to be there. And all of a sudden we just started getting excited. We both like stood up off the couch and opened our phones and just started going down the list. And it was just like, yeah, it was kind of cool.
I loved it. Like when you called me, you were like, hey, so we're not going to do Saturday. And I was like, oh, and then you were like, so are you free tomorrow?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I was like, I felt like I was on a high. Like I was like on a rush because it would just seem so surreal. All of a sudden we're like, holy crap, we're getting married tomorrow. Like, are we going to get married tomorrow? Let's just make this happen. And we were coming up with like backup plans for all of our plans. And if you couldn't be there, like my brother was just going to like take a few shots. And if our officiant couldn't be there, then like his dad was going to go online and register to be an officiant. Like if the church wasn't available, we were going to walk down the hallway of his parents' house. Like we had all these backups because we were just like determined to get married.
I love that. Okay, I have to acknowledge that this is happening right now before I it's like pause like in the air.
I know. I have a little needy one sitting right next to me at the same time.
I know, we both are like petting the dogs.
Yeah, petting dogs.
I know. No, that was something that like I noticed all day long and like took away from your wedding was the way that like everybody literally just like I felt like everybody was just like, it is what it is, and totally band together and like made the absolute most of it.
Yeah.
And it was like so great. Like you said, like your brother being willing to take pictures and like Tim's dad was going to register to be an officiant. Like, I feel like that's kind of what makes or breaks situations like these is just like bringing people together and just like making the most of what it is because it's about people at the end of the day, like not about the show of everything and whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let me find where I was. Okay, so one of the questions on Instagram was how did you come to terms with not having the wedding day that you originally planned, like emotionally and mentally? Like, did you have any kind of like breakdown or were you pretty much right away like, this is cool, it's fine?
No, definitely not. This is cool and this is fine. It was harder at first, like letting go of the plans than it was deciding to almost completely cancel because it's like when I was still holding on to everything I visualized and it wasn't working, it was just overwhelming. And I was almost like mourning like the loss of losing all those memories that I thought were going to be so crucial to the day.
Right.
And I swear I would wake up like feeling positive, and then by the afternoon I was having a little bit of a meltdown and feeling super overwhelmed and trying to like fit these pieces together that didn't work. And it just didn't feel like what I was wanting until, I don't know, Tim and I would just sit down and like talk about it and like what we felt like was most important. And we just knew that the one thing, like we personally and didn't want to move out and getting married. That was what was stressing me out the most, was like pushing that out. And we knew that we had options to get married, even if there was a celebration later. So we were just kind of focused on thinking about how we make that happen. So it definitely took me a couple of days to kind of let it all sink in. And then we just kept reminding ourselves that it was out of our control, which almost made it easier. Like it is completely out of your control. And all we could do is like ride the wave and stay informed on the news and replan once we knew what was going on and make the best of it. And at the end of the day, we knew we were going to get married one way or the other. So we just kept reminding ourselves that that was the most important part.
Yeah, that's good. I know that's like what I've been trying to like remind people, and you were so great about this. I feel like I didn't even like have to tell you, but like at the end of the day, the celebration is obviously so important and like everybody involved is so important, but at the end of the day, like it is about you guys getting married and like starting the rest of your lives. Like that's the purpose of a wedding in the first place, is to
Yeah.
celebrate the rest of your
Yeah.
lives. So, and that can still happen like
For
regardless.
sure. Yeah. If anything, it almost forced us to get out of the details and the little stresses that were silly,
Mm-hmm.
because we were, or probably more me than Tim, but I was so much more focused on the day and all these little plans
Mm-hmm.
instead of, what the meaning was behind it. And of course we were focused on that, but it seemed to fall secondary, I think, as you start planning a wedding and that list gets longer and longer. And it made us step back and realize that all that little stuff didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
We were getting married, and it kind of was humbling to us to bring us back to
Yeah.
that mind.
That's so good. I love that. You've been like so quick to see the positivity in it. Like I feel like it could be easy to be like, "Oh, I need a couple months to like understand
Right.
why." And like it's only been a week and you're like, it gave me so much perspective. Like it brought things back down, and that's so great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Cool.
so another question on Instagram was, how did you make the most of your smaller wedding knowing that it wasn't what you had planned?
Um, yeah, it was honestly, I think the best part was that we just kind of let go of expectations.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's easy to be disappointed in anything, in your wedding, including if like one thing doesn't go the way that you pictured it. And the coolest part about this smaller wedding was that we had like let go of all of our expectations. We knew nothing was going to go perfectly. Um, and so it just kind of took the pressure out of it and made it not like casual, but just less serious and stressful of a day. And then at the end of the day, it was like we had our immediate family there. And we also did some other things to kind of bring in other people that we wanted to be there too. So we found a way to do like a video live that we were able to send the link out to my grandparents and Tim's grandparents and some of our closest like aunts and uncles that were really sad to be missing the day,
Mhm.
and got it set up on like a YouTube live or Facebook live. I'm not honestly sure, but you will be surprised, like if when you have to change plans, like people will help you and support you. We were just blown away by how much people were willing to help. And so a lot of those tools, like they help because people were sitting there watching our wedding as it was going on. And I didn't really like want it on Facebook to everybody, but we were able to just send a link out to specific people that we wanted there on the day, and it made it special.
Yeah.
But also having the smaller group, I can't tell you how many people from our group were saying like it was one of the most special weddings they've been to, because Tim and I would have spent the whole night bouncing around from one person to the next person to the next person to the next person, having the quickest, kind of most surface level conversations, and feeling like we had to move on and we were on the schedule, and we had no schedule. Like I was late to the church, didn't matter because it was our family there. We had nowhere to be. The reception started whenever we arrived. We could eat whenever we wanted to. And it just like made it so easy and less stressful for all of us. So yeah, at the end of the day, the small wedding was kind of awesome, and we got to really spend close, intimate time with the people that we cared about the most, rather than like a second with each person of 200.
Sorry. I'm like trying to get him out. Yeah.
So cute. Yeah, so we loved it. We loved the small group being there,
Yeah.
and able to, bring in those special people that we were sad about not being there in a different way.
Yeah, for sure. I know, and like I've been to so many weddings because like it's my job, and it really was like one of the most like intimate, like meaningful. Like I don't really cry at weddings very much, and I like teared up a couple times because I was like, this is like so great. I can't believe like
Yeah.
the way that your families came together, the attitudes that like you and Tim both had, like it was just so like such a humbling, like I was like so honored to be there and just like witness like just the overall like attitude and like feel of the day. And like about not being on a schedule, like I feel like that's so big. Um because I know that like there are times when I'll literally have like 10 minutes to take pictures because like the ceremony went long and we have to be at the reception at this time. And like with you guys, we like it was raining, so it took like a little bit longer to get where we were going to take pictures. And once we got there, like it was like a very fun, chill atmosphere. Like nobody was panicked, nobody was like go go go, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
it was so the atmosphere was like so great with it not being rushed like that.
Yes. It like simplified everything.
Yeah.
It really did. And I think with us coming into it without these big expectations, like everything just exceeded it. Like everything worked out and all the little imperfections like didn't matter. It's not like we had 200 people witnessing all these like mess ups and
Right.
things that went wrong because they did, because we didn't rehearse anything. We didn't have
Yeah.
time to talk about like, a lot of the formalities of the ceremony and everything. So it was cool. It was really neat. It was so different from what we expected, but it was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And something that you said too, I noticed this too. You and Tim got to spend so much more time together than couples typically do on the wedding day. I can't with how distracting my dog is being right now. No, because I mean, usually it's like you spend the whole day like getting ready with all the bridesmaids. If you did do a first look, like it would be pretty close to the ceremony. But like you guys saw each other and then we're together the rest of the day, like side by side, not having these like formal conversations. Not that that's like a bad thing. I know that that's like
No.
that's great and there's a time and place, but like I did notice that you guys were literally like side by side having like quality time together all day long, and that was like really really cool.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but that is so true. I remember at the venue that we booked at, they even said when we get there, they like pull the bride and groom into a room so that we just have like a moment to breathe together by
Yeah.
ourselves. And yeah, we did not need that. Like we never felt overwhelmed or stressed or like we were separated. And
Yeah.
so it was so cool.
I love that. Okay, what were some of the highlights of the wedding day that you did? I know we've kind of like touched on everything, but is there anything that
Yeah.
stood out that you were like, that was so great?
Yeah, I would say some of the highlights. The biggest highlight was probably just having everything exceed our expectations because we had no expectations. I know I was telling you earlier that we were kind of expecting to go into a dinner with like ordering La Rosa's pizza and like a case of beer and just like sit around on couches and eat.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't believe how much our families came together and sort of recreated our reception that we planned on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
They like moved their dining room table into their living room, and our flowers and everything, a lot of things were already ready. And so although we have a lot of wasted things, we tried to utilize them as best as we could. We had signs up that were supposed to be welcome signs for the day on March 21st, and they said March 21st, but they got married on 19th, obviously. But everything
Yeah.
was kind of funny at that point, that everything was so, I don't know, just not what we planned.
Yeah.
But they planned for us to do like toasts and cake cutting and first dances on the living room, like in front of the fireplace. It was just cool because we didn't go into it thinking we were doing all those things. We had kind of like wiped the slate clean and thought like, this is just going to be totally different. And it ended up being such a amazing wedding celebration and all the formalities that go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that one of the coolest things was a surprise from our families at the end of the night. They knew we were sad about like not having my grandparents there, and a lot of our best friends and bridal party wasn't even there. And so they had them all send in video toasts, like cheersing us. They all put on like their wedding attire, had champagne glasses, like did toasts, like people sang songs, they danced, they told us jokes, like funny stories. And they had these all in like a highlight reel of like back to music. And it was so fun to watch at the end of the night, and all these people just kind of like cheersing us on and supporting us. And it felt like they were there even though they weren't there. So that was such a cool thing, because that was, the only sad part about the day was just missing those people. But between those and having all the pictures now and the video, we were able to bring people in. Honestly, it just felt like everyone was there.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that highlight reel of all of your guests like making videos, and like I was pretty much done by then, but I like wanted to stay around and watch because it was so cute. Like just seeing everybody like dressed up for the wedding, it was so cute.
Yes. Sitting in their kitchens or wherever, like probably 9:00 in the morning, like
Right.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and then what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and I feel like the reason that you guys like had such a great reception is because you really would have been fine with like La Rosa's pizza and beer on the couch, but because you would have been fine with that, and because you were like fully prepared to like accept that and like welcome that as your wedding, like what your family did for you guys was like that much better. But I think it just like started with like the heart of it, like how you guys were okay with just being together.
100%. Yeah. The more we were just like appreciative that, hey, if we want to get married, we can get married, and we will figure out a way. And there's backups to our backups, and everything was working out. Then it's like everything else just became like the fluff in between.
Yeah.
It was cool.
For sure. Do you think that you'll do another wedding later this year, like at your venue, or are you like, what are you
we've talked about this a few times, and I think we've decided we're not gonna like make any decisions right now. Like going into the day on Thursday last week, I was thinking absolutely like we'll do a big celebration because I'll feel like I kind of missed out on all these things, and then we both left the night and agreed that we felt 100% complete. Like we just had the most amazing wedding ever.
Yeah.
I almost felt like I would be like spoiled if I had another celebration down the road. And so we kind of left feeling like not necessary, but also I think with everything going on and like timelines still up in the air, we just didn't want to plan anything right now.
Right.
So it's tough. And I get it with a lot of people trying to plan right now too. Like the time frames are still so up in the air. So I don't know. I would say if you want to get married, like, yeah, get married in someone's house and someone can become an officiant. Like people will help you. But we're not sure. We're not sure if we're going to do another celebration yet. We're going to kind of talk about that down the road as things calm down.
And that's fine. Like there's no rush to make a decision like that. Like you're married, so.
Yes.
That's your video.
Yes. I'm getting a phone call.
Oh, sorry.
But we also kind of decided if we do decide to do another celebration, it would look differently. Like all these details that we were so focused on and stressing about, I don't want to stress about those like the second go around. And we realized first go around how unimportant they are. And so it would literally be like food, alcohol, and a band, and everyone together in a space, and casual, and no cake cutting or dances or all these things, but literally just a celebration and something we can kind of just like show up to stress-free and just all be together once all this stuff is over with. So maybe, but it will look differently.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I feel like that's pretty much like everything I wanted to ask you, or like people wanted me to ask you. Do you have just like any advice or like final thoughts that you want to tell brides who are like in the position that you were in a week ago?
Maybe it sounds corny, but one thing that helped me so much is that Tim and I would sit on the couch like when I was feeling so overwhelmed, and we would just kind of focus on what was the most important thing and sit down and talk about it. And to us, we just wanted to get married. And I think it was good for us to sit down and reflect on kind of how lucky we were. I mean, there's people in such worse circumstances, I think jobless and, financial hardships and lost loved ones. And if we wanted to get married, we could get married, and it would just have to look differently. And I think just letting go of control and realizing that you know, it might not be what you initially planned, but it could be even better, even though it's something totally different.
Mhm.
And just embracing that. But yeah, if you want to get married, like just make it happen. You just literally need a place and the few people that are closest to you to be there. Um, People like supported us and jumped on board and were so willing to drive into town. I mean, we had a sister from Chicago, a sister from Indianapolis, my brother from Columbus, my parents from Columbus, and everyone just like drove into town on a Thursday evening, and we made it work.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to stress about a million different details.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, I guess, my advice. And then also I'll say that I know I kind of mentioned, but the whole experience was just really humbling. It got us out of all the nitty gritty stresses and the small stuff and made us realize the big stuff and the important stuff. And as much as you can focus on that stuff and just how lucky you are to be getting married, and to have this person, that's kind of just, I think, where you need to focus. And the celebration will like fall into place perfectly and be even more special than I think your initial plans, because your expectations are probably a little bit lower in terms of all the details because they just don't matter as much.
Right.
So just like, yeah, refocusing and realizing that it'll be awesome whenever it is and whatever it looks like.
That's so good. I love that. Yeah. I think it was great. Like, it was one of my favorite weddings I've ever been to, just again, because of the atmosphere and like the feeling of the day and just like it being so obvious, like how close you guys were and like your families and everything.
Yeah,
It was so cool to be a part of.
for sure. And I will say, like, we knew we were going into a reception with just our siblings and their significant others and our parents. And to me, I was thinking it would be awkward to still do toast and cake cutting and try to like make this reception with this
Yeah.
small group. It would feel weird. It didn't. It felt
Yeah.
so special. Just as like everyone was like emotional and I don't know, like the environment was even more intimate and it didn't feel forced at all.
Yeah, I agree.
So it felt so natural. And so, you know, if you still want all those same formalities in a big reception, but on a smaller scale, like do them. It will be just as cool, if not even more special.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of in my head,
Yeah.
but I was completely wrong.
Yeah, it was like the best group ever. Like everybody was so comfortable and happy and just like genuinely like excited for you guys. And that's all you really want in a wedding anyway. It's just everybody to be there and happy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you so much for answering all these questions and like
Of
being
course.
there for people who are in your spot now. I know that they'll be so grateful and get so much from you.
I get it. Yeah. And we will all look back and have the craziest, most wild story to tell. So
Yeah.
we can hang on to that.
Yeah. It'll always be a good story. Okay. I'm going to stop recording, but I'm going to stay on and talk to you for a second.
Cool.
Okay. Bye, Instagram.